Thomas Jefferson once said, all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Don't remain silent. You just jumped in the Pickle Barrel with author, speaker, commentator, and show host, Bill Pickle.
Good morning, and welcome. You're in the Pickle Barrel. I tell you what, we got so much to talk about today. It's unreal. You know, when you're doing talk radio, you know, you don't have to worry about ever having anything to talk about, especially if you're in the world of politics, because there is always a plethora. You hear that big word this country boy used? A plethora of things to talk about. The problem is I am looking around here and I have got so many things laying here to talk about. It's hard sometimes to decide which ones there are, but we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to talk about some politics, but we got a couple of guests that's going to be joining us. And one of them is Adam Campler, and he's going to be talking about why he is moving, or why he has moved. He's now actually moved his company from China to South Carolina. We love to hear those type of stories, don't we? And he's going to be joining us at the 8:30 hour. And then at the top of the hour, Mandy is going to be joining us. Mandy Simpson, good friend of mine, but she started her own little business, agency, I should say. And we're going to talk about what made a young lady like her decide it was time to step out on her own. Don't you know this is such a big risk? So we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and making that move to get out on your own. And we're also got a lot of politics to talk about too. And we're going to get started on that real quickly, but I would like to invite you to participate in the conversations. If you would, you can call in and talk live on air with me and the guest at 712-770-4160. And then you're going to put in the magic PIN number 263151#. Now then, that'll get you in the queue. You can listen all you want to. If you want to talk, hit *6, and you can come in and out anytime you want to just by hitting that *6, okay? And we encourage you to do that too. We love to hear your questions, your comments. And obviously, we got the chat room here on Facebook Live, and also in our website, AmericanPatriotRadio.com. So we would love to have you join us either way, all the ways, whatever you want to do. Just take part in the solutions, okay? That's what we want to do. Help us identify problems and take care of them. Okay, well, let's get started here. We're going to share just a few little things this morning on this day in history, August the 1st, people. August the 1st, school is almost back in session. Registration has already been done here in our hometown. I think it's finished. It may still be going, but I know that they've had it going. And people are wrapping up summer vacations. It's unreal. Okay, this day in history. Let's see here. 1689, James II siege of Londonderry, Ireland, ends in failure. James' forces had suffered some 8,000 casualties to the defenders' 3,600. That's a little off balance there, isn't it? And let's see here. 1791, Robert Carter III, a Virginia plantation owner, frees all 500 of his slaves in the largest private emancipation in U.S. history. And 1839 mutiny aboard a Spanish ship in Cuban waters raised basic questions about freedom and slavery in the United States. And so he took his own step there and let them go. And let's see here. 1801, the American schooner Enterprise captures the Barbary cruiser Tripoli. After venturing into harm's way, America's most famous sailing ship, the Constitution, twice came close to oblivion. In 1834, folks, listen to this, 1834, slavery is abolished throughout the British Empire. See, they still had slaves too. We weren't the only civilized country in the world that had slaves. 1864, Ulysses S. Grant, Union General, gives General Philip Sheridan the mission of clearing the Shenandoah Valley of Confederate forces. After 10 months of trench warfare, Confederate resistance in Petersburg, Virginia, suddenly collapsed. Now, I would like to know, how do you figure after 10 months it suddenly collapsed? Don't you think it worked its way up to that in 10 months and then bam, it happened? I don't know. Just play on words there. Okay, people talk about the way I talk, this country boy talk I do, my Texas, South Carolinian, South Carolina for you that don't know different, accent, and, old fart at that. And so I like it when I can correct somebody's writing or something. I sent Fox News a text message yesterday correcting them. I get tired of their reporters saying, the president stepped up to the podium and said a few words. No, he didn't. He stepped up to the lectern. You stand on a podium, you talk at the lectern. So I sent them another text message asking them, please get it right. Okay, anyway, bigger things. Let's see here. President Harry S. Truman established the Atomic Energy Commission in 1946. And those are just a few of the things that happened on this day. Oh, one more. 1988. Probably the most famous talk radio show ever, I would think, began his national radio show, conservative commentator Rush Limbaugh, on this day in 1988. And my fame and fortune is soon to follow him. Okay. William Clark, American explorer, born in 1770, led the Corps of Discovery with Meriwether Lewis. Francis Scott Key, author of the Star-Spangled Banner, was born on this day in 1779. Maria Mitchell, the first female astronomer in the U.S., was born in 1818. Herman Melville, author of Moby Dick, was born in 1819. Nancy Lopez, professional golfer, was born in 1952. Some of the things happen in history. Let's talk about what's going on now. All right. Let's go look at the chat room real quick and see what's happening. Not a whole lot there yet this morning, but we will have that, I'm sure. All right. Let's see here. Well, we got to talk about Scaramucci just a little bit, okay? Scaramucci is walking out with some scars this morning. He got fired. You're fired. Of course, it didn't come from Trump. It came after the brand new general came in. And it didn't take no time at all, did it? And I think I'd have to go back and look, but I think that was the shortest held position in the new staff, if I remember correctly. He was in and he was out just a couple of weeks. Boom, bam, boom. I'm glad. I hate to say it, This is one of those that I am happy it took place. Did not care for the man, did not like his manners or lack of, did not like his mouth, did not like his better than thou attitude, which, you know, it seems like all of those up there that are getting put in right now have that attitude, but I don't particularly care for it. And he was one from the day he stepped foot on the stage first time. I said, oh, well, I won't say it on air, but it was not a nice word. So anyway, the retired general said no discipline. He never had been disciplined. We're talking about Scaramucci here. He had not been disciplined for his profane rants. Everybody just let it run, let him do what he wanted. And he said, not when I'm in charge. I'm using my words here, okay? Not when I'm in charge. I'm the general. I know how to give orders, and I expect all my orders to be followed. Yes, use your own initiative, but you might want to consider bouncing some of them off of me. And watch that mouth. Watch that mouth. I wonder if he's going to tell the president the same thing. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Well, anyway, he's no longer there. He was spotted, though, at the swearing-in ceremony, looking kind of grim. I can imagine. But at that point, still unaware that he was out. Apparently, that's what most people are saying, that he was not where he was going at that time. But he wasn't looking too happy, was he? But anyway, you know, he came up there. Actually, report says that he was coming in that first day with a plan to announce changes in the communications team, a move that was intended to further marginalize staff brought from the Republican National Committee. He was going to tighten that noose some more. Instead, Kelly told him he needed to go. Oh, well. Oh, well. There you go. A firing that the president wasn't at even. How about that? No way could he work with Kelly, one White House official said. His antics over the past week were crazy by any standard. And so Sarah Huckabee Sanders said the president certainly felt that Anthony's comments were inappropriate for someone in that position, and he didn't want to have the burden. He didn't want to burden General Kelly also with that line of secession. So it was done. Poor baby. Poor baby. So anyway, I think that's pretty good. Sean Spicer, gone, said that no way, no way. He said that I'm not going to be part of this. The administration is going to be hurt. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of it, and I don't want to have to explain it. I'm out of here too. Bye-bye, French fry. You know, you know, I swear. You know, I really think that maybe there is going to be a legitimate shakeup in the administration. While I don't really, well, let's put it this way, I have my doubts about a general military man being in charge of a civilian, normally a civilian-run operation. Different personalities, different work habits, different expectations. But you know, so far, chalk one up for the general. I'm happy with that. But thank you very much, sir. Okay. Some of the other things going on, and this was taken, I'm taking this from some notes that I took from a local guest columnist in our local paper here in Florence, South Carolina. And when I read it, I thought, good stuff. And so these are some questions to ask when politicians sets their sights on your wallet. And, we got to admit right now that is one debate, a conversation that is really deep, is, well, they're all taking our money. They don't care. They look at our wallet. They're not worrying about their wallet. They got all the money coming in. They can stand. Us, on the other hand, we got to work for our money. We actually got to accomplish something on the job. If we don't accomplish something on the job, we're fired. So what the questions that may come up when politicians are involved? And, this is something that has been very seriously placed in action here in South Carolina in the last few months because of our budget and our new taxes that we got on our road taxes, our gasoline tax. Matter of fact, July went up. New taxes went into effect. We still have pretty low gas prices compared to the rest of the country, but not as low as they were. But anyway, so when those who govern us seek to collect more, whether in the form of property taxes to make it up or gas taxes or whatever, we're always asking why. Why are they doing this? Don't they already have good sources of money? Well, yes, they do. But I think we should be asking some more. And these are some questions I think people need to be asking. And I want to thank Richard Erkstrom for these. He is, by the way, Richard Erkstrom. He is a CPA and our state comptroller. So when I saw these questions, I said, I got to repeat them. So here's what we need to be asking our legislators anytime they start talking about dinero, dollars, money. Have all other options been exhausted? Sometimes I doubt that. I mean, they come up with these ideas and pop, here comes the question for money. And I'm thinking, now, whoa, wait a minute. Isn't there somewhere else you can get this money? Isn't there some kind of snowflake deal out there that you can melt and do away with? Or is there some kind of extreme project y'all are working on that's really getting nowhere? And I want to talk about one of those in just a couple of minutes. A biggie. Most people would agree that an increase should be the last resort. I have preached that, and everyone I know on this show has preached it. Before there's any tax increases, there better be a reason to do it. Plus, there better be an exhausted look on where you can get the funds from before you take my money. I think that's something all of us are aware of, and all of us need to talk about, and all of us, every single one of us, need to be aware of. And I think that we are getting to have more and more people more verbal, which I think is wonderful. I think that one reason why we should always ask, is there more money available somewhere else? Have all sources been exhausted? Is, most of us work our tails off for a living. Or we have worked our tail off for a living, hoping to retire and enjoy the fruits of our labors. But it's hard to enjoy the fruits of the labors when your account goes down faster than your retirement funds are released. But anyway, additional taxes, fees, things like this can be very burdensome on all of us. I don't care if you're rich or poor, those funds come out of our pockets and directly goes into somebody else's for some reason. And I question that all the time. I want to see our legislators, our state governments, our school districts, wherever the people are that's asking for money. I want to see the evidence that they have exhausted every other source. And I want them to justify why they want to do what they got to do or think they got to do is really necessary to start with. You know, I know here in South Carolina, we have an ongoing battle with our state treasurer, Curtis Loftus, who is a good guy, by the way. I like him. I like his tone. I like the way he asks questions. Although he gets mud thrown at him, he gets kicked in the face, but he stays on task. He says, I'm the state treasurer. I want to make sure this money is being used correctly, not being taken advantage of. You know? Yeah, it's my job to write the checks, but I want to make sure I write this check for good reasons. Well, the legislature's told you to, Curtis. That's the only reason you got to know. That's what they tell you. You know, it's not your questions to ask why. Your job is to make sure the monies are where they're supposed to be so they can spend it. That's just kind of a breakdown in simple terms, what they keep telling the man. But I'm glad to see that somebody else up there in the State House, Capitol building, is thinking about these things also. I think before anybody raises any taxes on anybody for anything, they need to have more than one opinion on, does this really need to be done? Does it need to be spent? Is this the right source to get it from? I may be kind of old-fashioned, but, you know, I like to be in the know. I know my wife and we have this relationship. We spend money. Both of us probably spend it about as equal as the other. But you know what? Usually when we spend it, we know where it's going. And there's not a secret. Well, except one, you know, her birthday's coming up and I got her a gift yesterday. But she's probably expecting that. It'd be the first I didn't, if I didn't. One of the other questions that was brought up is, will we, the citizens, the taxpayers, will we see where that money is spent? And if the governmental body in question doesn't make it detailed on how they're spending it and how much they're going to spend, the time frame it's going to be spent, I think they're doing us an injustice. And Comptroller Erkstrom does too, and I appreciate that. One of the other questions that should be coming up anytime and every time they want to spend money: is there safeguards? Is there a system in place that will guarantee that this money is going to be spent where it should be spent, how it should be spent, not overspending, that every dime of it is legitimate, not over the top? I think that is something else that needs to be taken care of and looked at when they're doing that, and we should insist on that. And the safeguards, oh gosh, folks, you know, I sometimes wonder, do we have any check and balances whatsoever? And if we do they need to be revamped? Something is wrong with the safeguards. How can we have so many tax dollars and revenue dollars coming into the state, to the city, to the school boards, to the water districts, national government funds? How can we have so much going in and we always come up short? We always come up short. Well, we keep hearing it's Obamacare's fault. So much money's being sent over there. Well, we keep hearing, well, it's defense's fault. We got so much money going over there. Well, it's the snowflakes' fault because they want to give money to people that really don't work or earn it or won't do their thing, won't do their share to take care of themselves. There's all kinds of things. We got to take care of things like changing names of highways and streets and moving monuments. That takes money. It beats me. I just don't. It beats us all every day. Bam, 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 money. Bam, 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 money. It don't matter where it comes from. And one of the big things that I insist on, and I can't ever tell you that I know for sure it's all straightened out every time, is are our people looking at the facts? Bergstrom's got it spelled out here in this column so well. What factors have they put down? What have they really looked at? Have they honestly explain and do they even understand the facts on what's going on? Well, I saw this article, this commentary, and I thought, I really want to talk about that, but I'm going to talk about it some other time. But then I thought, you know what? We got this big issue going on right now in South Carolina. And it's not only in South Carolina, folks. There's a couple other projects across the country that are in the same deep doo-doo that this is. We've got a nuclear power plant, a couple of new reactors that were being built. They've been working on this thing for years. And it was going to take years more to finish. Well, it was announced yesterday they're pulling the plug on it. They said that it's just going to take too much time. There's already been years of delays and cost overruns, and we're going to have to pull the plug on it. Now then, it doesn't matter, I guess. Remember what we said about checks and balances and making sure what's going on? It doesn't matter that they've already blown $9 billion on this project. $9 billion of our money in the form of rate increases over the years. It doesn't matter that they've done that. Monday, the owners nixed the plans to finish them after years of delays and cost overruns, and it is certainly dealing a severe blow to that industry's future. These reactors were set to be among the first built in the U.S. in decades. We always hearing, these old ones are starting to get old. They need to be, taken care of. They need to be replaced. Well, here's one that was going to be taking place of some things. Giving everybody more cheap energy. $9 billion of dirt have been moved and concrete poured and other things, I'm sure. I mean, you had to spend $9 billion on something. Well, Santee, Cooper, and South Carolina Electric and Gas may get little to nothing refunded of the billions they've already paid for the now abandoned project. And, of course, the CEO of the in charge says, I'm disappointed today just for Santee and Cooper and its customers, but for our country and the industry as a whole. If you really believe we need to reduce carbon, this was the way to do it. Well, then, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you get the job done? You had a budget. Oh, we misfigured. Times changed. You didn't figure that out. That cost keeps spiraling up on everything. Ooh. Well, they're saying that Monday's decision may even result in the utility putting a coal-fired unit idled years ago back in service. I'm thinking the one they're talking about, though, is one that was just shut down this year. I bet you they're going to reopen that one. I bet that's what they're intending to say. Well, they're saying right now this shutting down this will immediately save consumers an estimated $7 billion this year. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Can you imagine? $7 billion we're going to save just this year. I'm mad, folks. I am mad. I am perturbed. I am over the top this morning over this. You know, people have been saying for a long time, this thing is costing too much money. Oh, but we got it under control. We got it under control now. We got what we need. Oh, by the way, we might need an extra couple of $1 billion over the next year or so, you know. Not that much, but, you know, just $1 or $2 billion. Gosh. You know, where does it stop? Where does it stop? And you know, there's going to be a lot of time and money, a lot of fingers pointing on trying to figure out what went wrong. Well, you know, I think you should have been doing that all along the course, so maybe you could have prevented some of these things from going wrong. They're saying now that this thing that was being built probably wouldn't be finished until 2014, which is, I'm sorry, not 2014. That's long gone. 2024. You know, and there's a lot of people saying there's no way it would be finished that quickly. Some of them are saying it'd take probably another 2 decades or more to get it finished. Unreal. But folks, right there is what we're talking about. We need to know where our money's going and the safeguards and all of that. And that is a disgusting set of events. It is terrible. Terrible. In my humble opinion. Okay, we got a guest that's scheduled to be calling in any time now. Dave, when he calls in, just let me know, and we'll go straight to him. Please, sir. In the meantime, we're going to move on down the road a little bit here. Man, I am so mad about that nuclear plant. Unreal. Okay, anyway. Lordy. Okay, let's see here. Some other things going on. Let me look here. Tim Scott, our senator, one of our senators here from South Carolina, sent out his weekly e-newsletter. Got it yesterday. And I want to share some things that he pointed out to us and see what you think about it. One of the things said on the health care vote, Senator Scott said Friday's vote was disappointment for sure. As so many families are now still stuck dealing with the rising premiums, sky-high deductibles, and the lack of choice that Obamacare had created. He said, looking ahead, though, that it's imperative, and I loved him saying the imperative, that we find solutions for the damage being caused by Obamacare. Well, I want to probably interrupt here, and he's probably going to explain this later down in here, but I'm thinking maybe we need to look at and find resolutions on why we can't get anything done about it. That's what I think we need to find out, too, why we can't do anything about it, or why some of you don't want to work together to get something to do to take care of it. You know, he went on to say that he is only one of the senators there. You know, he can't do it all himself. He can't make the laws or anything like that all by himself. And he did sign the legislation wanting to stop it, especially some of the more harmful provisions of the Obamacare. He said, I hope that my work on the PACE Act 2 years ago can provide a roadmap for the next step forward. We'll find out in the future there, Senator Tim Scott. He also said, while it might be tempting to say, let it fail, that is the wrong approach for South Carolina families and people across our great nation. He wrote a op-ed, on USA Today on Obamacare, how it's continued to fail, and why it's still important for us to ensure that some Americans have access to quality, affordable health care. And he was explaining all that in there. One of the other things that he addressed was the sanctions on Iran, Russia, and North Korea. He said before voting on the health care Friday morning, he supported legislation that would expand existing sanctions on Iran, Russia, and North Korea. Now, the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, he says, sends a strong and clear message to our adversaries, notice that word, adversaries, through the Sanctions Act, that their actions will not be tolerated. The consistent provocations carried out by Russia, Iran, and North Korea have left us no choice but to increase financial sanctions against these countries and these sanctions are intended to have some impact on their economies. And if they want to relieve that, they need to fall in line and back off. In other words, simple terms, back off. He says he was glad to see the strong bipartisanship and bicameral support behind this legislation, and hopes that it will be effective in helping to foster peace and stability. Kumbaya, my Lord, kumbaya, of the more dangerous regions around the world. I think those people might want to have peace and stability in that part of the world before there will ever be peace in that part of the world. My humble opinion. My humble opinion. Well, Housing Opportunity Act. Now, this was one act that he got on board with very strongly. And Tim Scott, for one, does like to communicate, talk with, and take care of his district. I will tell you that. He's just that way. And I do like him. He joined a bipartisan effort to increase housing stability for foster youth aging out of care. You know, being involved in working with youth, I've had several young people myself that have been in the system so long that they aged out. And when they aged out, they had nowhere to go. Nowhere. Parents, no parents involved, nobody. I mean, after a certain time, parents just quit communicating with them, quit talking to them. I had a young man that was in a group home, been there for, close to 2 years. Close to 2 years. And when it coming closer and closer time for him to age out, because the parents said they don't want him home. We can't control him. We don't want him home. Well, parents, I guess there's more than one way to get your kids out of the house sitting there. Just give up on them and throw them out. But the bottom line is, this kid had nowhere to go. He aged out. And by law, lack of law, and by constraints by existing laws, there's nothing no one else could do for him. So the care center, group home, packs him up, takes him to a homeless shelter, and lets him out. Wonder where that kid's doing now. That's been about 3 years ago or so, or maybe even more. I wonder what that kid is doing now. Well, the Foster Stable Housing Opportunities Act would grant priority preference to federal housing assistance to foster youth who are aged out of care, and allow youth in foster care to apply for housing assistance at the age of 16 prior to aging out. And just like this kid that I was working with, we knew at age 16 he would not be going home. We knew he would not be going home. But nothing could be done by existing law. Nothing. And I'm sitting right here. I'm a wuss about some things, folks. And I'm sitting here right now almost in tears thinking about how the system failed this young man and many like him. Many like him. The most latest child I had. Remember, I've been doing this so long, when they called me up, it was bad of the bad, okay? I had another one just aged out. Just a couple of weeks before he aged out, he said enough is enough, and he left. He just bamboozled. It became clear to him that none of the family members wanted him. Can you imagine being a 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old kid, 16, 17, 18-year-old kid? That's a young adult, if you ask me. And people, your own relatives, your own mom, dad, grandparents, aunt, uncles, none of them want you. Now then, a part of that is the children's fault. We gotta admit that, okay? It's part of it is their fault. A lot of it is their fault. But do you give up on family members like that? I never have been able to figure that one out. But those are just some of the things that Tim Scott was talking about, and I have to hand it to him there that I think that those are very serious issues that need to be addressed, and I hope he continues doing just that. All right, we're still waiting on our guest for our 8:30 guest, running a little bit late there. But those things happen, I guess. All right. So, we're going to carry on. Tonight, one more, I want to just remind everybody tonight again that tonight is National Night Out. And most of you in your community somewhere will have special events for this. Some communities, all they do is have little thing asking all the neighbors to come out, sit in the front yard, have coffee, whatever, in your front yard, your neighbors all gathering together, and in honor of the policemen, of our law enforcement officers. And here in our hometown of Florence, just for those that are listening from Florence, there are several celebrations going on tonight. Target on David McLeod Boulevard from 4 to 8 is having a little get-together outside their building there. Northwest Park and Community Center on Clement Street having ceremonies at 6:30. Churchill Community Center is having activities at their location at 6:30. House of God Church and many, many others are having celebrations, and take part in those. Let your law enforcement officers know that you care, and all of them have a certain number of law officers that have promised to show up and say hello and thank you and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's that. I see people sharing the video and inviting people to join us. Thank you all very much for doing that. That means a lot to not just me, but American Patriot Radio as a whole. We want more areas, more people listening, and all across the country, all across the world. We have people calling in and taking part in these conversations every day. Well, I think the SoftBank. I don't know how many of you ever heard of SoftBank. I had not heard of SoftBank, but SoftBank said it plans to direct offer for Charter, and this is the I can't say his name. I'm sorry, Masayoshi Son. Anyway, that gentleman, the chairman of Japanese technology Goliath SoftBank Group, wants in on the U.S. cable market. They want in here. They want to have some say in cable industry. Big market. Now, I think that's just what we need to do. We need to bring in foreigners and give them a big piece of the action here in our cable operations, don't y'all? I think that'd be a smooth move. Matter of fact, we are just giving control of Wall Street and all that too while we're at it. I'm being sarcastic as hell here, I know, but it just irks me when I see that foreign industries are wanting to have major players in our companies right here on our soil. Now, I'm not trying to be an isolationist. Y'all know me better than that. I am not an isolationist, but I don't really think that we need to have major corporations having controlling interest or near controlling interest in all of our activities. Now, someone explain to me why I should be concerned about that. I'm thinking that there could be some possible conflict somewhere down the road about these type of things. I may be naive. I may not have my doctorates in business or CPA or accountant or anything like that, but something tells me, a little bit of common sense here, horse sense will tell you that when a foreign country has controlling interest of a corporation that was started or an industry that was running good here, they could have some strings in their hands that they could pull. Am I being stupid and naive, or does anybody else agree with me on that? But they want it. And something tells me, those in power, the deep state folks, the ones I was talking about the other day, the ones, the money grubbers, anyway, if they want it, they'll let it happen. Unreal. But anyway, there's that. Sick of it. Oh, Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. All right, let's see here. Some other things. Which way do I want to go here? Trying to find out what I can get started in and let loose of real quick as our guests start coming in. Florida. Dave, are you on the line?
Yeah, Bert.
All right. Well, I'm sure you've seen this story. I read it a couple of days ago. It's talking about how Tampa Bay, Florida region, which is not that far from where you are, is due for a major hurricane, but in no way is the Tampa Bay region ready for such a catastrophic event to come in. So, how far are you from Tampa?
Probably about 150 miles, I'd say at the most.
Well, I was saying 125 to 150. So, okay, good. We're together there. And so any storm that comes in Tampa Bay, you're going to feel, because Florida's not that wide. It's going to go right through the center up there, and you're right dead centered practically, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're actually closer to the north side, but we're considered Central Florida.
Okay. So if one were to come in Tampa Bay, chances are you're going to feel it pretty heavy there, aren't you?
It varies. Quite frankly, it depends on the width of the storm front itself. And that storm you referred to, I believe, actually is what came across yesterday, didn't it?
No. They're talking about one that would be like as big as some of the bigger ones that come through in the last 25 years, they say. We're talking about big giant ones.
That just hit.
No, not those little tropical storms. No, we're talking about hurricane.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When Florida sits there and tells you an area is not prepared, that's not, put it this way, Florida in its worst state of preparation is better than any other state in the union. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So when they say something's not ready, okay, that means, all right, we're short a couple of water bottles or something stupid. I mean, really, it's that insignificant of a situation down here, because we've been dealing with it for the entire history of Florida. Doesn't matter if it's coming from a Nino, non-Ninos, if it's from the right, if it's from the left, if it comes through the Gulf. Florida is always bombarded with one way or another with tropical storms all the way and up to hurricanes, of massive strength. So it's nothing new for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I would really have to look at the actual report of why they're saying right now may be a lower state of readiness than it could.
Okay. Well, the Tampa Bay area, folks, if you're not familiar with Florida, if you take the entire what they call the Tampa Bay, not the city's bay, just that little bay area in Tampa itself, but the Tampa Bay area consists of about 700 miles of shoreline. And so they got a wide range there they hit when they come in that area. Now, a Boston firm who is one that's analyzing the catastrophic results of a hurricane or anything like that. They're saying that if a hurricane the size of Katrina were to hit there today, that they would be looking at a minimum of around $175 billion in damage. Now, I don't know if it's a scare tactic. I don't know what it is. But, folks, $175 billion in storm damage is not good at all. At all. And they say that right now, Tampa's been very lucky that they said, quote unquote, by a stroke of gambler's luck, Tampa Bay has not suffered a direct hit from a hurricane as powerful as a Category 3 or higher in nearly a century. They're saying that Tampa has doubled down on the bet that another will not strike anytime soon, investing in billions of dollars of high-rise condominiums along the waterfront, shipping, port upgrades, expanding a hospital on an island in the middle of the bay, which I've seen that hospital, by the way. Not visiting it, but, actually seen it, Anyway. Then St. Petersburg is in that group there, too, that area. And they're in the process, when we were down there, of putting in this huge pier, which would be a major attraction in that area, which is going to be extending out in the bay. So evidently, Dave, although y'all are due one, people are not too worried about it. So
no, it's something that's just a part of life down here, and to us, it's like don't sweat the small stuff. You can't control Mother Nature. You prep the best way you can, and you deal with the aftermath when it's over with.
There you go.
We don't have a lot of the issues like they have with Katrina. We don't have levees per se to worry about. We don't have to. There's a lot of things we don't have to worry about. Florida is also pretty much the entire state of Florida is built on lime rock. Okay, so water isn't usually an issue. There's very little to no chance of flooding anywhere in Florida, except for maybe a couple of small spots that are real close to the Everglades or something like that. That's already a swamp area, in other words.
Okay.
And then you might have some water rise, but usually goes down quickly. So there isn't much really that bothers us. Now, when you're talking about the coastlines, all right, like you're talking about the bay itself, then of course you do have the concern like you would anywhere with beach erosions, with destruction to the piers. They haven't been secured or upgraded lately. The ports event, the different ports and stuff. So that's probably what they're referring to. Just because I don't think we've had a port upgrade, in probably 100 years, it seems. But so, that's probably what they're referring to as far as the damage. If you were to damage that port, that would be a very large expense to come in and try to repair and recuperate any damage there. But for the most part, generally speaking, there's very little concern when it comes to this type of stuff.
Okay. All right. I've got a message here from our caller saying that they were having trouble calling in. So, Dave, I'm resending them the phone number, the PIN number, and all that. And want to ask them to try again at 9:30, sir. If they can do that, they will. So hopefully we do that. And I'm setting them at that time because we do have another guest supposed to call in right at 9, okay? At that, we're going to take our break right now, folks, and get our act together here. And hopefully we'll have our guest with us. Take us away, Dave. Let's hear some patriotic music or something for a couple of minutes while I get my throat wet. We'll be right back, folks.
Welcome back. You're in the Pickle Barrel with Bill Pickle.
Good morning, and welcome back. You're in the Pickle Barrel, and I'm glad to have you here. And we are excited. I am excited to see every day that we have people that are interested in what's going on, and people that want to talk about the issues and all that. And that's what we've got to do. That's what we've got to do. One of the things that our senator said earlier this morning when I was giving you that information, Tim Scott, was, people have got to be involved. We want to hear from you, but you'd be surprised at the number of people that we never hear from. We'll hear from them on something that's really just their one little pet peeve, and they'll dog us to death, but the general public as a whole will never contact us. Well, we've got something else going on right now that I am excited about, and we have talked over the years about how business climates are changing, how we have new generations coming up the pole, climbing that pole, opening up their own businesses, doing their own thing, being successful. We know a lot of them aren't. We know that a lot of them fail, but they come back. I know several that have tried and have made it finally. Well, we've got a young lady on the phone with us right now. Her name is Mandy Simpson. Now, you may have heard that name before, but I'm not going to tell you where you heard it. I'm going to see if she brings it up. But Mandy Simpson is with us on the phone right now, and we're going to talk with her about her move and what she's had to do to get where she's at. Good morning, Mandy. How are you?
Hey, Bill, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Maybe up a little bit more if you can. I tell you, yeah. Now, you are you have your own shop with State Farm Insurance, right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Now then, I met you, how long ago was it now? 6 months maybe? Was it that long?
Yeah, well, I don't even know if it was that long. Maybe just a couple months ago.
Yeah. And I learned a lot about this young lady watching her and listening to her. And now, Mandy, are you a Xer or millennial?
Oh, goodness. I'm kind of right on the threshold.
Right on the threshold there. Okay. Won't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're doing right now before we get into some questions?
Okay. I was born and raised in Florence, South Carolina, and went to the local public schools, and I went to Francis Marion for my undergraduate and graduate degrees, and have stayed in Florence my whole life. I started working in banking, did that for 8 years, and then switched over to insurance, and have been in the insurance industry for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And I worked for another local State Farm agent, Richard Skipper, for about a year and a half, and then an opportunity came up for me to get my own office in my hometown, so I was elated and went through the interview process and passed all the assessments with State Farm and was selected for this opportunity.
So you took the plunge.
Yeah. Now I'm a small business owner.
Yeah. Now, were you scared or nervous about doing this, Mandy?
Oh, gosh, yes. I mean, it's exciting, it's thrilling, but at the same time, it's a huge leap of faith. It's a big investment of your own, personal funds and time and energy. And so it was definitely a nerve-wracking experience, but so far it's been totally worth it.
Yeah. Well, we've never talked about or compared careers, but your career is very similar to mine. When I got out of the military, I went on the freight docks and worked for a number of years and decided I want to get some education, get my own job outside of the freight business. And so I started in the insurance business with Woodman of the World, I think it was. Woodman of the World. Anyway.
Okay, yep, I have a very similar. I was with Woodman for 3 years.
Okay, well, I was with them, right at 3 years myself. $1 Million Round Table, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then I decided I wanted to do more, and I got asked to come to a lending company, a mortgage company, and joined the mortgage company and ended up having my own. And then when the savings and loan crisis hit back in the 80s, you wouldn't remember that, I don't think. Everything went to hell in a basket, and I went to the newspaper business, and you know the history from there. Well, let me ask you this. What made you decide that you really wanted to jump out there and open up your own business? You know, that's a scary thing to do.
It is. It was a lot of things. the idea of being your own boss and getting to make, the decisions, for your future and determine how much money you want to make. If you want to work harder and make more money, that's your prerogative. If, you're happy where you're at, that's one thing too. So I like the flexibility of it. And the opportunity with State Farm is it's a really strong opportunity. I think with their agents, they have over like an 85% retention rate because they really set you up for success. I mean, it's yours to lose. And I mean, it was just, I kind of feel like you'd be a fool not to take it. If you're given that opportunity with State Farm.
Yeah. Did you even consider looking at other agencies or different avenues before you jumped in there?
Honestly, I didn't. State Farm's the number one insurer in the nation and has been for auto since 1942. So, I mean, if you're going to go with insurance, I want to be with the best.
That's right. If you're going to do it right. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Well, when you opened your doors for the first day, I would imagine there was a thrill, an excitement, but a little bit of, oh, boy, what have I done?
Yes, it was very exciting. It is nice with State Farm. They kind of help you, kind of hold your hand a little bit. They give you a lot of guidance, a lot of training. But at the same time, it was a huge financial investment. There were a lot of nights that we renovated my own office ourselves, me and my husband, and a lot of friends and family. So there were nights we were here till 12 o'clock at night painting, doing it yourself. And I won't lie, there were some nights I broke down crying. I was like, oh, my God, why? This is crazy. What am I doing?
Yeah.
But it has been so rewarding.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be where I'm at today.
Yeah. Well, I know any time that I have come by driving down the road there on a second loop or whatever, that little shopping center is pretty easy to tell whose cars are where because, it's kind of that, it's L-shaped. And I always see that, you've got people coming in and talking with you. And times that I've stopped by there, you've had people. Now, you've been in business how long?
I opened in January of this year. So
January this year. Wow. It's, you know what? That is astounding. I thought it was longer than that, to be honest with you. So,
I'm still pretty green.
Yeah, well, you're doing good though. I hear people talk, Hey, do you know Mandy? Oh yeah, I know Mandy. She's over at State Farm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I have my insurance. I've actually talked to a couple of people that have insurance with you, by the way. Not going to tell you their names though. And so when you opened your door, was it just you or did you have any other agents with you? How long did it take you to get a front desk person and all of that?
I opened, it was me and two other fully licensed team members. So
okay.
They were already had their state license for life and health and auto and property.
Mm-hmm.
So I had me and two other people, and then it wasn't too long in. I needed just a kind of like a part-time receptionist to help with the phone calls, like on Mondays and Fridays. It gets a little more busy. Now there's not a ton of walk-in traffic. Basically, I'm what they call a scratch market. So I wasn't assigned a book of business.
Right.
So initially, it was, you could hear crickets, and it was very, the phones aren't ringing, the door isn't swinging. You're just like, oh my God, what now? So, but yeah, it's surprising how quickly it's come together, and I attribute that. I've had a great sales leader. I've had great mentors along the way to make things happen. And then with it being my hometown market, that's been a huge help. I know the people here. I grew up here, so that's been a huge help. I have high school buddies calling me up and saying, hey, I got an opportunity to get some quotes, and I thought of you. So it helps having your natural market around you.
Well, I know that you are taking full advantage of modern technology. I know that as a young entrepreneur, you are on social media. You have your Facebook page and Twitter and all that. And as a young startup company, have you found that has been of really major importance to you?
Oh, definitely, 100%. Because Marketing for business, that was one of the eye-opening experiences as a newer business owner, is just how expensive marketing was. Because, you go through school, and I was a business major, and we did marketing projects, and you're like, oh, yeah, billboards and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do print, and we're going to do this.
Ching, ching.
Pricing things out. Yeah, it hurt my feelings. Like, oh, my gosh, this is not cheap. And, but that's one great thing. Social media, I mean, I'm surprised Facebook hasn't started charging more.
Shh, don't say that too loud.
Everybody's on it.
Don't say that too loud.
They are looking in here. But yeah, it's so effective. People are scrolling, they're looking at it, and it's where the people are right now is on social media. And so you have to do it. I've actually been a little bit lazy the last couple of months. I've been distracted with some other things going on in the business, but there for a while, I would at least try to post something once a day, or at a minimum 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Because
I try to do that too.
You put your name out there. Yeah. I mean, people look at it, they pay attention, and you never know what, they might not pay attention, they might scroll past it, but that one day that they get ticked off with their current agent and you posted recently, they're like, you know what? I'm going to go to Andy. Yeah. So,
it can happen that quickly too, can it? Yeah. What do you mean you won't place my windshield? I thought you always place my windshield. Well, we can't do it this time. Well, I'm going to go someone who can.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. So you do Twitter, you do Facebook. Do you have a?
That's another big one.
I'm sorry.
And LinkedIn. That's another.
LinkedIn. Okay. Now, a lot of professional companies like yours will do workshops or seminars or things like that. Have you ever done any of those?
I have. You just have to be really careful in my industry, especially with State Farm. I have to make sure all of my posts are compliant.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually, monitor anything that I post on social media is monitored, and they have very strict guidelines. So they have their own set of training and rules and regulations that I have to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So State Farm kind of monitors all that on my end.
Okay.
That's the great thing. If you're, an independent agent, or if you're in a different industry where you're, a small business owner, and you don't have those right, you can do a lot more actually than what I'm even doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. As a business lady, there are certain things that you have to do and had to do to get up and running. If you have any young folk that are looking at doing something similar to this, what would you say you would tell them was the biggest attribute to your success?
There's a lot of things I think that led to it. I guess I'll hit the highlights.
Okay.
Surround yourself with successful people. Winners want to be with winners, and losers don't want to be around winners. And it sounds so cliche, but it's the God-honest truth.
Yeah.
If you want to be successful, you surround yourself with other successful people. Watch what they're doing. Learn from them. Take their best practices. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. They always say work smarter, not harder.
Uh-huh.
So if you're surrounding yourself with successful people, it's really going to help you. And that's one of the things I definitely, contribute my success to, all the way from, when I started in banking, I was with a successful bank, and there was a lot of hardworking people in that bank that I still respect and admire to this day. And, it set me up in a position to meet other business people, which is how I met, Richard Skipper and with State Farm, and that's how I got into that career, because I was in a successful position there.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if I had to pick one, do that because it matters. Make sure you're always presenting yourself in a good light. Don't, it's easy in today's society to get caught up, in the fun and everything, and especially with social media, everything you do is publicized or put out there. So just be careful, because people are always watching, and you never know if they might be looking at you as a potential candidate for employment. And so you want to always present yourself in a good light too.
In other words, in other words, make your own future.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't depend on anybody else doing it. You got to be the one to take the tiger by the tail and make your own future.
I completely agree.
Okay. Well, a couple other off the cue questions here, Mandy. As a business owner in the type of business you're in, You know, you have happy clients, you have unhappy clients. And some people have a hard time dealing with negative results or negative comments or having to take negative actions. Have you ever had to turn someone down for insurance?
Oh, goodness, yeah, this is not pleasant. And I've actually just, within the last couple of weeks, had my first truly disgruntled customer, and I won't lie, it was very unpleasant.
Yeah.
It's not a good, I'm a natural crowd pleaser. I'm one of those that if I got something in a restaurant and it wasn't cooked well, whatever, I'm probably just going to sit there and eat it just because I don't want to ruffle any feathers, you know, but that's the type of person I am. So to have a disgruntled, you know, customer, it kills me. You know, and especially when you've got social media and they can give you a bad review so quickly, you know, and I pride myself on doing a good job, and so it's a really uncomfortable position to be put in when you have those circumstances where you truly can't help it that, you know, maybe their roof did look terrible and you have to say, I'm sorry, you know, because of the condition of your roof, we can't insure your home.
Right.
Situation like, or because of your terrible driving record and you drive, you know, like a NASCAR driver, I can't insure your car. Sorry. No one ever likes to be told their baby's ugly. And so, yeah, that's not a fun place.
Well, you've never said that though, have you?
No. Slightly, and just, you know, I try to offer up alternatives. Say, you know, maybe you're not a good fit for State Farm at this particular time.
Yeah.
Here's some, you know, 2 or 3 other independent agents that might be able to assist you. I try to always give them another alternative because I feel like I'm still helping them, even if it's not with me. So that usually helps, you know, bring the water a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Very good. Well, Mandy, if you had the opportunity, someone came up to you and said, Mandy, would you be my mentor? And just answer a couple of questions or give them a couple of advice. What would be the top 3 things you'd tell them to watch for, be careful of, or whatever, before you take the plunge in going in business for yourself?
That's a hard one. Let's see. Maybe just to make sure that opportunity is a good fit for them and that they understand the opportunity inside and out and any potential pitfalls. You want to go into those things understanding exactly what you're getting yourself into. Talk to other people who are already in the industry. Talk to not just, you know, maybe talk to the successful people, but also talk to people that it didn't go well for them. What was the worst case? What does that look like for you? And are you okay with that worst case scenario? Can you handle that? And if the answer is yeah, I'm okay with that worst case scenario, and you know I don't plan on that being it, then okay, you know what you're getting into. So.
Sounds good. Well, I tell you what, Mandy, when I first started thinking about doing a series of entrepreneurship and new businesses that were coming into our area and trying to get people aware of what it takes to be a successful business, you were one of the first ones I wanted to call. One, because of the relationship that we had built over the last several months. And I think that I was very impressed with you because of the spunk that you had, the tenacity that you have. And when I was watching you, I watch people all the time, Mandy. When I was watching you around other people at the activities we were at, I was paying attention on how you communicated with them. Everybody were the same. They were all different. But when you were talking to them, they were all the same. It didn't matter if they were man, woman, boy, girl, black, white, pink, purple, chartreuse. You treated them with dignity. You treated them like they were somebody important. And I tell you, young lady, you keep doing what you're doing, you may be the next CEO of State Farm International.
say that. That means a lot coming from you, especially. Thank you.
Well, you're more than welcome. Now then, I'm going to spurt out where I knew you from, okay?
Okay, go for it.
All right. Mandy was one of the young ladies that I invited to participate in the lip sync contest that we did here in Florence. And she was the lead guitarist in the Idolistics. That's right. The old bald-headed guy. Yeah. In the wig. She was the lead guitarist. And I know this is hard to believe, but she was the one that was better looking than me. And so, but anyway, Mandy, I still want to thank you so much for helping with that project. And you salvaged that by going out and helping us find people when we couldn't find people to fill in for slots. And I do appreciate you so much. And I want to wish you all the luck in the business. And do not stay a stranger, okay?
No, absolutely not. Thank you so much for inviting me to that, too. It was a blast.
Okay, and I want you to tell everybody where you're located, phone number, and how they can get in touch with you if they want insurance products.
So we are located on Second Loop in the Huntington Plaza over by Rebel Pie Pizza and Rita's. And let's see, the number is 843-799-0885.
All right. Mandy, thank you so much, and we'll be talking at you later, okay?
Awesome. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Mandy Simpson, State Farm agent. I tell you what, in this area, I wanted to, well, I have seen so many young people. You know, we're always hearing the young people don't do this. They don't do that. They don't respect hard work. They won't get out there. They won't do this. There are young people out there like Mandy that are getting out there every day, folks, every day. And I am so lucky to be associated with so many of these young people. It is unreal. And so we'll go from there. Okay, our other guest was having difficulty getting in. Dave, have you heard back? I asked him to call back in about 9:30. I gave him the number again, so hopefully they'll be calling us, okay? If you get them, just let me know, all right? Okay. Until then, we're going to move on, and we're going to talk some more politics. And okay, we, a couple of days ago, were talking about opioids. And there's been a lot of emphasis put on these, and I'm not going to dwell on this one this morning. I just want to give you some ideas here. You know, the FDA said that, well, they actually voted against approving a new opioid painkiller with a unique feature for deterring abuse. It said it releases a deep blue dye if someone tries to get high by crushing, chewing, or snorting pills. And they voted against this. Now then, and they voted overwhelmingly against approving it. It was a Intel Pharmaceutics International's generic version of extended release Oxycontin, a key drug in the U.S. opioid addiction epidemic, and the FDA usually follows advisors' advice. Well, they turned this down of having that in there. Doctors and scientists said they were concerned about the dye's safety for the intended patients and its effectiveness in deterring abuse. Most said the company hadn't done enough studies on the drug. I don't know. But I would like to know more about how they thought that this would work, and if they had the evidence that the deterring it would work, Why didn't the FDA approve it? They have these so-called Smurf parties and blue lollipops. They're talking about how they become popular, and that's one thing that has added to the addiction. So I'm going to be interested to see what all comes from that. We're going to be watching that more closely as things come around and see what takes place on that. Someone asked me, this is just off the cuff here, folks. Somebody asked me yesterday, what's going to happen when we have all these driverless cars on the road? Who gets a ticket if the car is speeding? First of all, let me tell you, I know nothing about that technology. I'm not sure how it works, why it works, and would I want someone driving my car that I can't see? So, some of the things that have come up, the questions I asked me was, Bill, do you understand how this works? And I said, hell no. I didn't say heck no, because I seriously don't know. And they were talking about how they expect within the next year to 2 years, some of them are saying that we will have these cars on the road. And so that just raised a bunch of other questions up with me, and I want someone to tell me how this is going to be handled. If the car is programmed and knows speed limits and things like this, and it still speeds, who gets the ticket, the car or the driver? Well, the driver is the car. Good question. If you have an accident in a driverless car or the car is driving it, who gets sued? The car manufacturer or the owner of the vehicle? Now, I know some of you saying, well, that's a stupid thing. I mean, come on. What do you mean? Well, I'm serious. These are some things I want to find out. What's going on here, folks? What's going on? Well, I don't know. I don't know. But if any of y'all know anything more about these driverless cars than I do, please let me know, because I know nothing about them. And so I just want to bring that up, that people keep asking me questions about them, and I don't know the answer. Only thing I know is now they're saying that that they do expect them on the road no later than 5 years from now, but maybe as early as 1 or 2 years. That's going to be interesting. Very interesting. Okay. South Carolina folk, I guess you heard Lieutenant Governor Bryan is going to run for governor. He touted his conservative credentials in his official, when he said he was officially entered the race on last Friday, and he wants to bring integrity back to state politics. Lord knows we need that. And, I'm one of those, though, that keep hearing the same reasons why I want to run for office. I want to get rid of Obamacare. I want to bring integrity back to politics. I want to do this. I want to do that. But, some reason, some of these people don't ever get elected, because I guess somebody in elected office don't want to bring integrity back or something. Or when they get there, they become part of the so-called swamp. They're just the newest fish in the swamp, newest critter in the swamp. So what do you do? What do you do? How do you separate the wheat from the chaff? Oh, here we go. We got some sponsors here. Works off of GPS. The guidance system works off of GPS and other sensors that can be added into the roadway. Some states already have and had the test lines there. Has been hiccups, but for the most part, the tech is close to having the bugs worked out. That's going to be interesting as heck to see those things on the road. I just don't know. Well, I got a question. If it's a driverless car, where does the owner of the car sit when they're in the car? They sit you know, is there a driver's seat, or do you sit in the passenger seat?
You can sit in any seat you like. You can manual drive. You can switch to manual drive as
Yeah.
well. So.
Huh. Unreal. I when they come out, I want to go test drive one anyway. I want to see how it works. I want to see how it works.
I'm surprised with all the traveling you've done. You haven't been in one yet. They're in a lot of the major cities.
Not on the road.
Yeah, they've been on the road for several years.
Well, that's right. I remember one of them running in the back end of somebody one time. I did hear about that, and I never did find out anything else about it, though. Never heard a word. I'm going to do some research. Dave, would you feel?
I think it was LA. I think pulled them last year. There was a couple of issues. I can't remember. I believe it was over in California. There was issues, and they did pull the line temporarily. They pulled the cars off the road. The company that owns and does all that, Uber, everybody heard the Uber drivers, right? Anybody can join Uber. That's actually a tech corporation. They're the ones who are putting a lot of this out. They're hoping your 5-year timeline, by then you should see even a lot more on the road, because their 5-year timeline is projection to the autocopter. They have a helicopter technology that they're working on for picking up, people as well, for delivery type services, where you can, you call and the autocopter would come and pick you up and fly you to your location. So that's actually one of their projects, future projects that was released that they're working on, and that actually may already start its testing phases within the next 5 years.
Okay.
So there are several corporations that have been involved in driverless cars for many, many years. It's not a new technology. It's newly perfected, and it's finally, making it to the roadway itself. But there are several that go way, way back that have been running these test courses. They, of course, do it on test tracks. They don't do it out in the public. It's only really been getting out in the public the last couple of years. You already have a lot of the newfound technology involved in these cars in many of your newer cars. I don't want to start naming names because I'm not positive exactly all the manufacturers that are involved in it. But you see the commercials for them where you have the little alarms and self-braking cars, warnings for if you're in reverse and something is behind you. You have your lane sensors now where you'll get a little alarm if you start drifting out of your lane. So even your regular cars you buy today that you're driving already has a large majority of this new technology built into these new cars. And it's the same technology that these driverless cars are using. And that's where a lot of this has come from, is the different companies that, are working on the driverless car type of situation. But no, they're really cool. They're pretty neat. And it's always, it's always neat to see something new out there and just to see how far it's going to go, and see what happens. Right now, those ones that we're doing testing does require that a driver still be behind the wheel. It's supposed to be watched.
Right.
In case the technician he screws up, because it is working the bugs out of the system. And, we'll see what happens. But just like everything else, it's new. It's going to have its hiccups. The big concern over the last, several years actually, has to do with not only the driverless cars, but just the newer cars themselves, is the hacking ability.
Exactly. Yeah.
All these cars there are computerized.
Every one of them
can be hacked.
Yeah.
So that has been a big concern over the last couple of years, is how can they protect the software enough to for these computers to make sure that an outside source can't break into the system and take over those cars.
Yeah. It is amazing to me, the technology. There's some of you that listen to this program probably still remember getting in a car. You had to have a key to unlock it. You shut the door. You manually roll down the window if you didn't have AC. And my first new car didn't have AC. I didn't have carpet. Didn't have a clock. It had a radio, AM. It didn't have any kind of like a CD player or 8-track player or anything. Like some people don't even know what I'm talking about, do they, Dave? 8-track player. And Lord knows, last weekend I found a box in the house here that had a bunch of 8-track players, 8-track tapes in it. Can you believe that? And a bunch of 33 and a third albums. Lordy. But, you know, technology in these cars is just like technology everywhere. It just surprises me how well it all works and everything that you can do with it. And, you know, the first experience I had with all that, Dave, as you remember, when I did some live shows on the road, I would pull over at rest stops and talk to people during the election season about how they were going to vote, what they think of Trump, blah, 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 blah. And people would stand around the car and we'd do it live right there through the mic in the car. I mean, it was just like we were in the studio. And it's funny. It's funny how technology changes and how it all comes about. All right. Well, I'm assuming our caller is still having trouble getting in. He said that he would try again at 9:30. And haven't heard anything. So we're going to move on, folks. I've been trying to not get deep into anything until we heard from him, but I think it's time to move on. Okay, and I'll get together with him and apologize for whatever's going wrong there. Okay, I ran across another situation where South Carolina, an agreement between South Carolina Education Agency and a historically failing school district, ended a lawsuit this past Friday, claiming the state unconstitutionally seized control from the local elected board. Now then, I'm going to go into a little history here and explain what went on. Because it's not very often that you hear of the state stepping in to take control of a county school district. It does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's happened. You know, I say it's unusual. I know in the last 5 years here in our area of South Carolina, it's happened twice, which is the first time I ever heard of it taking place at all. But officials with the state said Allendale County School District jointly asked the state Supreme Court to dismiss the case filed last month. Now, the lawsuit followed Superintendent Molly Spearman, who has been on this show several times over the past, and one fine lady. And one thing she said, she wanted to start cleaning up. She didn't say she was going to clean it up. She was realistic. She knew it would take a while. She said she was going to start cleaning up the mess that we have in our education system. And she's been declaring war on poor education ever since she's been there. Even though some people said she wasn't a real Republican, she was a Democrat. Well, she's trying to take care of the education system regardless. One fine lady, I'll repeat. The lawsuit followed her declaring a state of emergency and taking over that rural county's 4 schools. The agreement restores some authority to the local board that includes giving final budget approval, hearing student discipline appeals, and providing input on hiring decisions. But the state school district, the state board, Spearman retains the final say over hiring of all school and district leaders, including the district superintendent, who will be in consultation with the agency for who knows how long. The board also agrees not to take influence or interfere with day-to-day operations, including teacher contracts, evaluations, and dismissals. It also promised to cooperate with state audits and use the findings to correct problems. And what this does, folks, it lets everybody know that, look, we can work together. We can work together without having to have these expensive lawsuits. And I find it repulsive that a lawsuit even had to be filed in this situation because, believe me, it was not a secret. This school district was in deep trouble, as are several other school districts in this state. You know, the spokesman for the state school district said, we're not wasting a ton of taxpayers' dollars to fight it out in the Supreme Court. They said that the board chairman did not immediately return a request for a comment, but this is an 18-month agreement which will be renegotiated based on audits and next year's student testing results. And if things are improving, wonderful. If they're not, the state law has allowed the education department to take over persistently failing schools and districts. And so, again, people were asking people to do something in government. We want them to do something. We want them to correct mistakes, bad issues. And here's the school board trying to do just that. And I think that they should be commended that they had the nerve to even step in, and then the professionalism to work together with the school district to get it back in shape. And just my own personal opinion there on that. Okie dokie. Some states already have and had tested. Okay, you're talking about the cars there, okay. A couple of other things that I want to bring up. And it's going to be a mixed mash of stuff, folks, from national and state, and maybe even some local. Our governor, Henry McMaster, good guy. Like him very, very much. I have varying opinions on his governorship. I agree with some things I don't. But overall, he's done a pretty good job. He was a great state legislator. He was a great attorney general. But anyway, we have said that, I told you earlier, that the lieutenant governor is going to enter the race. This lieutenant governor is one that was moved up when our other lieutenant governor got out. And Henry McMaster, he got out because he was promoted to governor, right? Okay. I overheard someone the other day, and I heard our governor say, oh, yeah, I've heard of him. You know, the lieutenant governor, he was joking, okay? But therein itself lies an issue. People have heard of him, and there are going to be several people run for governorship. There's no doubt in my mind. Last time I looked, I know there's at least 5 people considering it. And I'm talking about Republicans. I'm not talking about the Democrats. I'm talking about Republicans. And so once again, what we have here is an issue where we could see some internal squabbling and fighting within the parties from county to county as a governor's race picks up steam. Now then, I'm not saying that's bad. I think that anytime you have people run for office, it's a great thing. I think what we do need to do, though, is part of the process is to understand who your opponents are, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. This is what you should do when you're deciding whether to run for office and who to vote for. You need to look at cross the gamut at all the possible opponents on your side of the fence and the other side. You need to find out on your side what your opportunities are, what are your chances of winning. Or are these other individuals, or one or two particular individuals, going to bleed you dry as far as help goes, campaign people? Are they going to bleed you dry financially, by having to fight them in a primary? What kind of funds and support will you have after that primary if you win? And Lord help you, what are you going to do if you lose? Who are you going to support at that point? And that's something you need to understand if you're running for office in a primary. How are you going to approach those who ran against you in the primary to support you? Not just based on party line, but philosophy and principle. This is something that needs to be considered. And as I'm saying right now, there's at least 5 people looking at running in the primary for the governorship in South Carolina. I know Yancey McGill, who was a former Democrat state senator, his name's in the hat. He made it very clear by switching parties that this was going to take place some time ago. You've got Catherine Templeton of Mount Pleasant, a woman, obviously. Catherine wants to be the second woman governor in South Carolina. So far, all 3 of the people I've mentioned are qualified to be governor in some form or fashion. So it's going to be a little bit of a tit for tat here on this. And, so all this took place, these changes took place when Lynn McConnell, who was lieutenant governor, resigned to become College of Charleston president. And that's when all this started shaking up, and anybody and everybody was just about ready to be moved up to whatever. But so McGill is one, Templeton, and a host of others are still looking. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Now, Templeton, now let me go back up. McGill, I want to talk about McGill a little bit more. He probably didn't expect that there'd be so many people running for the position because being a former Democrat, you get outside his immediate base in his district, he's not going to be that well known other than the fact that he was a Democrat. Excuse me, I got to wet my whistle. A lot of people are going to just know that he was a Democrat who, by the way, did work a lot with Republicans. He was crossing the aisle many times as a senator. So that's something people need to understand. Some people say that Miss Templeton is nothing more than, I'm going to put a quote here though, that Andy Brack, one of the State House reporters, put. He said Templeton is more than substance, more flash than substance. But she has been in politics for a while. She has ran a couple of different agencies within the state. She was head of the state labor department, and she also was at the Department of Health and Environmental Control. So, she has experience working with these people. Now then, some people will argue about her successes and her input at these different agencies, exactly what she accomplished, if anything, but that does not seem to matter to a lot of people. Yes.
This is Arnold Kemmler. I apologize. I just got the information. The first number I had was wrong.
Okay. All right. Thank you,
Would
sir.
you rather do it another day, do it on Thursday, or do you want to talk for a few minutes?
Well, I tell you what, we go off air at 10. Arnold, we go off at 10. If you would like, we can make it Thursday morning.
Yeah, let's do it Thursday morning. Let me just look at my calendar. I don't know why they gave me the wrong phone number.
Okay.
Thursday.
Anytime between 8 and 10.
Oh, let's do. How about 9:30?
9:30. Got you down, sir. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for the confusion.
Okay. Yeah, me too. But okay, I'll catch you Thursday.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. All right. You know, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You know, he called in, said there was a mistake, but I still want to be there with you. I appreciate that so much. And I will make sure he gets his fair time. By gosh, I may just leave an hour open for him. But it's going to be a very interesting conversation. Very, very interesting conversation. But we have this race that's coming up, and we don't know for sure yet who all's going to run. The list is getting longer, though, on possibilities. And before I start throwing names out here, I want to contact them myself and find out just how serious they are before we start wasting a lot of time talking about them. But there are some challenges that whoever runs for governor are going to have here in South Carolina. One is infrastructure. You know, we just passed this new tax law, raising the gas tax here. People are having a fit over it. I mean, they're having a condemnation fit over it. You know, our gas went all the way up to $1.88. I filled up yesterday. It's $1.88. Across the border, it's $2.47, $2.27, depending on what stations you stop at. And it's higher than that in other states. Now then, I'm going to repeat myself. I do not mind a small tax increase if they use those goddamn funds for what it's designed for. Infrastructure. Not pulling it out like South Carolina has a habit of doing, transferring money from here to yonder to do some kind of special project or some kind of bridge to nowhere project, using that just an euphemism there. You know, I want it used correctly. My wife and I just came back from Virginia, and God dang it, it upset the holy crud out of me every time we do go on a road trip out of state, that when we come back, we got the filthiest, we got the roughest, we got the ugliest highway system in the goddamn country of what I've driven through, which has been 40, let's see, well, there's only been, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 states left in this continental United States that I have not driven in. And so that's saying a lot when you say that your own state has the worst goddamn highways and byways anywhere. You know, I did not oppose the gas tax because I know it will help fix our issues if used properly. Okay, anyway, got off track there. Got mad, didn't I? All right. Even though right now there appears to be about 5 or maybe more people that's considering running for governor, I will go on record and tell you right now, of those that are talking about it, McMaster probably will win. And I think that McGill, even though he was a Democrat, folks, if you know Yancey McGill, he's one of those blue dogs. Okay? More conservative than liberal. And he worked with a lot of people to prove just that too. So I would not ixnay him as a possibility. I think there's a good possibility that he can make a decent showing. We'll find out soon. We'll find out soon. All right. So anyway, those are some of the tidbits that I had here that I wanted to go over anyway. So we had time to do that this morning. And I'm looking forward to Thursday having our guest back with us. And other than that, we're going to shut her down for the morning. It is 10 o'clock by cracky. So we'll see y'all back here in the Pickle Barrel tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. where we'll start some other issues and discussions. And y'all have a great day. And as you're going about your business today, try to figure out something that you can contribute to that would get us out of this proverbial pickle barrel that we're all in. Dave, what's coming up next here on AmericanPatriotRadio.com?
Coming up later on today, another exciting adventure hour of Kids Corner and happy hour with candy and all kinds of stuff coming on. What is coming on? Today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Later on, of course, Chuck Skull's Golden Age Radio, the replays of Kids Corner and all of the morning live broadcasts throughout the evening. So it's a full day, as always, right here on AmericanPatriotRadio.com.
Hey, Dave, don't you think it would be nice if everybody just goes in and joins this group, and that way every day they can just click and see what they're going to see and hear?
Absolutely. That's the best way to stay in touch. Is to come over here to AmericanPatriotRadio.com. Join us in the chat room. That's where you're going to find all of the links and information you need to be involved in our social media. The schedule page is there. If you missed the show, there's the archive links and show pages so you can learn more about the individual shows and their host pages. There's all kinds of things to do over at ATR.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Okay, folks, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for being here with us, and we'll see you tomorrow in the Pickle Barrel at AmericanPatriotRadio.com. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. You've been in the Pickle Barrel with author, speaker, commentator, and show host Bill Pickle. You are listening to American Patriot Radio.
Have a good one, folks.